Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Today's video features a great die by Picket Studio called Slimline Rainbow. I have 3 different card examples to illustrate how easy it is to do inlaid paper piecing. I begin by die cutting my background with the Slimline Rainbow die. For now the cardstock measures 3.5 by 8.5 inches, but I'll be die cutting it later. I wanted to demonstrate the versatility of this die, and so I have 3 different card examples. As I construct the rainbows, I do it in assembly line fashion. Now I want to keep all of my die cut pieces in place, so I take the die from the bottom and peel it upwards and then move it carefully over to my work surface. Between each of the light ray die cuts, there is a thin band of the background that is very delicate. This is a beautiful detail, and I have a little trick to share with you that'll make it easier to work with. First thing that I'm going to do is to make sure that those light ray die cuts are aligned between those thin bands of cardstock, and then I use a piece of Scotch tape to hold it in position and work my way down the panel. I make sure that those thin bands of cardstock fit tightly against each light ray. Taking a little bit of time with this first stage of building the rainbow makes the rest of it super easy and quick to pull together. Each light ray is a different shape, and so as I do the die cutting, I do it in rainbow order. For each of my rainbows, I've selected my 7 colors and cut strips of cardstock. For the rainbow with the light blue background, pink is going to be my first color. The die is positioned so that the first ray of light will be over the cardstock. I move on to my next band of color, and for this one it's sort of a coral color, and I just make sure that the die is positioned so that I'm going to cut the second band of light. As I do my die cutting, I remove the ray that I want and discard everything else so that there's no confusion. I continue in this manner until I have my 7 die cuts. Now to put the rainbows together, and this is super fast and easy. Starting on the left-hand side of the rainbow, I remove the die cut and replace it with the colored corresponding one. As I'm working, I make sure that that thin band of cardstock is pushed right up against each light ray. The adhesive on the Scotch tape is strong enough to hold everything together, but not so strong that as you peel off each of the light rays that it's going to leave any cardstock residue. As each of the light rays is replaced with its corresponding colored one, the Scotch tape is going to hold everything in place. It is flexible enough that if I notice that there are any little gaps or any of the cardstock may be overlapping, I can actually go back, lift out that particular light ray, and make adjustments. As each light ray is inserted, I make sure that it fits tightly up against that thin band of cardstock. After the die cut is inserted, if I need to lift that thin band of cardstock, I find it easier to do with a craft pick. Again, I just push it in very tight up against the light ray. When the last color of the rainbow is inserted, I lift up the entire side of the background. This allows that last piece to go in easily. At this point, I can look carefully at all of the light rays, make sure that they're fitting tightly against that thin band of cardstock in between each one. If there are any gaps or the cardstock is overlapping, I can make some adjustments. This is exactly what I had to do with my rainbow constructed of glitter paper. When each rainbow was completed, I reinforced it by adding additional Scotch tape. Each rainbow panel was die cut using the second largest die from Picket Studio's Slimline nested rectangles. I created mats for each one by using the largest die from this set. White cardstock was used for the glitter rainbow and black for the other 2. Applying the liquid adhesive to the back of the rainbow panels, I make sure that I'm getting good coverage. The adhesive is applied in thin streams, catching the Scotch tape and all of the cardstock that is in between the tape. The matted panels are adhered to card bases that measure 8.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Now I have 3 very different backgrounds to personalize my cards. The pastel rainbow card would be a perfect foundation for a little girl's birthday card. I love this image from Birthday Girl Dear. It is just adorable. She was stamped on Neenah Classic Crest cardstock using Picket Fence Studios Intense Black ink. This stamp set comes with a coordinating die. The sweet hugging duo is easily colored. I'm using just a few markers to create a soft and pretty palette to coordinate with the pastel rainbow. And I have to add a little bit of sparkle. A glitter jelly roll pen is used to trace over all of the fanciful lines that create the mane, tail, and horn. When mounting panels on Picket Fence Studios' huge roll of foam, I hang on to the backing pieces. Because the roll only has backing paper on one side, I can use these pieces to put it on the other side so that I can use it for die cutting. And just as easy as can be, she's lined up with the foam die cut and she's mounted and ready to go on a card. The secondary sentiments for each of the cards come from 3 different sets: Birthday Girl Dear, BFF Girls Night Out, and Add Color to Your Life, and were stamped at the same time. After stamping with the intense black ink and clear embossing them, they were die cut using the sentiment dies from Slimline nested rectangles. The ends were trimmed off and then they were all mounted on foam. Cutting off the excess foam, I undercut it slightly by trimming it at an angle. For the pastel rainbow card, I'm using die cut sentiments from Mini Slimline Full Front Shaker die set. All of the main sentiments for the cards will be die cuts and foam mounted. When stacking the sentiment on foam, I like to leave the foam die cut in its backing. The foam die cut is slightly recessed, making it very easy to align the cardstock one to it. And it's just a matter of releasing it from the foam. For the other 2 rainbow cards, I'm using die cut sentiments from Mini Slimline double stitched rectangles. Hello There was die cut from rainbow patterned paper and will go on the boldly colored rainbow card. The Hooray die cut sentiment will go on the rainbow that is constructed from glitter cardstock. Because the rainbow on this card is so sparkly, I decided to go with something a little bit more subdued for the sentiment, but I ended up changing it because I didn't like it at all. All of the elements for the 3 cards are now complete. Everything is foam backed. The backing paper is left on until I'm happy with the layout. Then it's just a simple matter of pulling off the release paper and popping everything down. Although the adhesive on the foam is very sticky, it is also forgiving, and so you have time to lift things off and straighten out those sentiments. All of the cards are embellished with a beautiful sequin mix plus called Day of Rainbows. For this card, I'm pulling out lots of clay circles that match perfectly with my rainbow colors. This sweet birthday card, I'm using white and clear sequins. For my glitzy card, I've pulled out black and purple sequins. Isn't that amazing that this one sequin mix is suitable for all of these different styles of cards? And something that is standard practice for me, I top up the sequins with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew to give them a jewel-like appearance. And I left changing up that sentiment right to the end so that I could decide what I was going to do with it. And in the end, I decided to choose blue glitter paper. It definitely takes this card to the next level of sparkle and is kind of perfect with that sentiment. And that wraps up this set of 3 cards featuring a fabulous die Slimline rainbow. And who would have thought a little bit of Scotch tape and inlaid paper piecing couldn't be easier? I love rainbows, and I love that this die is so versatile. Whether you want it sweet, bold, or glitzy, this die has you covered. Thank you so much for stopping by, and as always, I appreciate your visit.